Now, the next approach, that is the fourth approach, is developmental approach. In developmental approach, we are going to talk about two main psychologists. First is Sigmund Freud, and second is Erik Erikson. Developmental approach is most important approach in psychology, and specifically the classification or the approach that was given by Sigmund Freud and Erik Erikson. The name of the approach that is given by Sigmund Freud, that is Psychoanalytic approach, and the approach that is given by Erik Erikson is psychosocial approach. So these are two approaches. Now we will discuss these approaches one by one. So let's talk about Sigmund Freud approach. Just give me 1 second. So Sigmund Freud. I'm going to teach you this approach in the most simplest form. He divided his theory, and this is the easiest way to learn his theory. He divided his approach into three components, in which the first was structure of personality, and he divided the structure of personality into three types. Second classification, psychosexual stages of development. Third, he gave structure of mind, and he divided structure of mind into three. Psychosexual into 5 stages. This will be easy for you to learn this theory. So we will discuss all these three one by one. So first of all, he divided. See, Sigmund Freud talked about personality. He said that every person is having some personality, and he gave the structure. He discussed about the stages of development also, how our personality develops according to the development, and he also divided mind into three parts. So first of all, let's discuss about this structure of personality. He described structure of personality into three component: id, ego, and superego. Before we will talk about this id, ego, and superego, let me let me allow to discuss the structure of personality. What Sigmund Freud said, that every person is having these three components in his or her personality, but these three structures don't work together. They work independently. Sometimes it is the main component of our behavior, sometimes ego is the main component, and sometimes superego is the main component of our personality. And it is composed of some biological instincts that includes the drives of sex and aggression. It can be defined as I. I means I-ness, means when there is a I component in your behavior, means when I am just thinking about my own pleasures, my own happiness, I'm not taking care of the others feelings. I just want, if I want xyz thing, that means I just want. I don't care about what other people think about this thing, if my parents are able to give that thing to me or not, but I'm just thinking about my own happiness. That is why it is related with the pleasure principle. And Sigmund Freud correlated the behavior of id with a child. That it is just like a child, means when you are just thinking about yourself, you are just thinking about your own pleasure, I'm not taking care of the other person. At that time, id is the main component of my personality. Yes, because all of us are human beings. Sometimes we don't think about others. We just think about our own self. What if I'll get this thing? What if I'll get this thing? Yes, I'm going to do this thing. I'm not thinking about even the others' feelings. It may be that with that actions I can hurt others' feelings also. But when I am self-centered, I'm just thinking about my own pleasures, my own self satisfactions. That is called as the id component of my personality. Then, whenever id components start coming, or you can say, whenever the id component is the main component of our personality, then ego components start working. Ego component is just like uh, you can say it is related with the reality, or we can say v reality principle. Means whenever it components start behaving like uh, in its own way, then ego component is going to supervise the id component. How? By telling him or her the reality, that look, this is the thing. Now it's up to you, you want to get that thing or not. So basically, the main function of ego is to supervise the id component. How? By telling him the reality principle. So it's just like parents. Whenever a child demands for something, it is the duty of the parents to make them understand that this is the reality, this is right and this is wrong. Now it's completely up to you what exactly you want to do. So now, if it is just like thinking about its own pleasures and ego is supervising the id component by showing him the reality, sometimes it is very easy to uh, make possible this thing, that yes, it is going to accept this reality and going to work according to the ego. But sometimes there is a conflict between id and ego component. Means id is saying, I just want this thing at any cost. Ego says, no, you cannot get this thing, this is not the reality. Like for example, sometime in the home, a child, he is just like a rigid. If I want this thing, that means I just want, he start making crying and making lots of noise to get that particular thing. On the other hand, parents, they are just like their own things. If I am not able to give you this thing, I'll not give. So that means now there's a conflict between id and ego. Now, when there is a conflict between id and ego, then the third components come. Otherwise, there is no need of superego component. Whenever there is a conflict between id and ego component, then immediately superego component start working. How this component work? Superego supervise ego component. He is not going to fight with this id component because he knows very well it's like wastage of time. So super ego component is going to supervise the ego component. And super ego components includes moral principles. And for example, whenever there is a fight between a kid and the parents, whenever there is a conflict between these two, then the highest authority, social, powerful person like grandparents or any priest or higher authority figures or culture or god, we can teach them with the help of all these things, basically by providing them, by giving them the knowledge about the moral values. So when superego is going to supervise the ego component by showing him the moral principles, then ego is going to supervise the id component, and accordingly these components are going to be settled. So I hope this is clear to everyone now about the structure of personality. I'm going to explain it again. Sigmund Freud gave structure of personality, in which he divided personality structure into three components: id, ego, and superego. About the id component, Sigmund Freud said that id is just like I, that is related with the pleasure principle. Means when a person is only thinking about himself, he is not taking care of the other things. That means at that time, id is the main component of our personality. Then, when it start working in its own way, immediately ego component starts supervising the id component by showing him the reality principle. That look, this is the reality, this is the truth. Now it's up to you what exactly you want to do. Sometimes it is easy to understand for the uh, uh, sometime it is very easy for the id to understand ego component, but sometime it is it's very difficult for both of them, and that is why the conflict arises between two. Whenever there is a conflict arise between these two, then the third component start working in our personality, that is the super ego component. And this superego component is based upon the moral values, and that comes under higher authorities, social powerful, or grandparents, or other family members who are having some kind of authorities in their homes. So this is about the structure of personality. Now we are going to discuss the second part of Sigmund theory, that is psychosexual stages of development. Psychosexual stages of development, according to Sigmund Freud, all human being passes through a series of five psychosexual stages in his life. One sided, he was talking about the stages of development. On the other hand, he used the word psychosexual. Why he used the psychosexual words? Because according to him, what he said that psychosexual means, according to Sigmund Freud, he said that every person is having sexual desires since he has taken birth. So how these sexual desires comes in that person, and how the person finds out a medium to satisfy those sexual desires. On the basis of these psychosexual stages of development, he explained five stages, and these are: first is oral stage, second is anal stage, third is phallic stage, fourth is latency stage, and fifth is genital stage. So he gave five psychosexual stages of development. So now we are going to discuss about all these stages one by one. So the first stage is oral stage. This is from 0 to 1 year. Means when the child takes birth until 1 year. In this stage, the child is going to get the sexual pleasures via sucking. According to Sigmund Freud, I have already told you that he said that the sexual desires are there in a human being since the birth, and he finds out different ways to satisfy those sexual desires according to their development. So, in the first stage, that is 0 to 1, in this, a child is going to uh, get the pleasures through mouth via sucking. That may be a breast milk or with the bottle nipple. Then the second is anal stage. Anal stage is from 1 through to 3 year stage. In this stage, toilet training is attempted and the gratification or the satisfaction is obtained through holding or having control over the stool. Eh, I don't know you have seen this thing in your homes or not, but I have seen many of the kids in my home, or it may be in my surroundings, that they are up to age 1 to 3 years. If you are going to during their toilet training period, if you are going to ask from them again and again, do you want to go for toilet, do you want to go for urination, most of the time they will reply no. Either they are going to give no in reply, or if you are going to just allow them to sit in the toilet, they will never say that yes, it is finished now, because they just love, because they feel satisfied when they are having control over their stools. So that means in the second stage, that is the anal stage, when toilet training is provided, in this stage a child gets sexual pleasures via holding stools. Then, in the third stage, that is the phallic stage, this is from 3 to 6 years. In this stage, pleasures is obtained via fondling with genital parts. It may be that you may have seen many of the specifically boys, because their sexual organs are external, so they may have these kinds of tendency, they start playing with their genital parts. So basically, according to Sigmund Freud, in this stage, that is a phallic, 3 to 6 years old, they get sexual pleasures by fondling with the genital parts. Then the fourth stage is latency stage. This is from 6 to 12 years. And in this, according to Sigmund Freud, this is the only stage when sexual desires gets repressed. Now the question is how. Otherwise, he's saying that sexual desires, like it's from since childhood till the end stage of the life. But this is the stage when he's saying that sexual desires gets repressed. Yes, because in this age the child starts going to the school and he has some responsibilities. He is having his own gang formation, means he love to play, he love to go to the school, he is having his own circle. So basically in this, he has different roles to play, and he's having lots of responsibilities. So the sexual desires get repressed for a certain periods of time. Then the last is the genital stage, it's 12 to above. Again, puberty stage, and again when you are 12 and above, young people start experiencing romantic attractions and emotional changes. This stage is called as adolescence. In this, it's like they involve themselves in the romantic relationships, and again they are going to experience the sexual desires, and they finds out their own ways to satisfy those sexual desires also. I'm going to repeat this again. The second part of Sigmund Freud theory is hyposexual stages of development, that he divided into 5 stages. Oral stage, it is from 0 to 12 years. The child gets sexual pleasures via sucking the breast milk or bottle milk. Second stage is anal stage, it's 1 to 3 years, and in this, toilet training is going to be provided to a kid, and he gets sexual pleasures via holding the stools or having control over the stools. Third is phallic stage, 3 to 6 years old. He gets sexual pleasures via playing with the genital parts. Fourth stage is latency stage, 6 to 12 years. Sexual desires gets repressed. Why? Because of the responsibilities and gang formation. Fifth stage is genital stage, 12 and above. Puberty stage achieved, and this stage is also called as adolescent. Again, the romantic relationships are formed and they find out their own ways to satisfy their sexual desires. So, this is about the second part of Sigmund Freud theory. Now, the only third part is left in this theory, and that is the structure of mind. Just one moment. The third part is structure of mind. Sigmund Freud said that we have three sets of mind: conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. Conscious mind can be defined as aware state of mind, means the mind by which we are aware about. This mind can be defined as the aware state of the mind. For example, right now, if I am talking to you and you are able to listen to me and you are aware about your surroundings, so that means this is your conscious mind. Subconscious mind is called as partially aware state of mind, means right now you are not aware about this mind, but if I am going to ask some question from all of you and if you are going to put some pressure over that mind, that is called as subconscious mind. The last is the unconscious mind, that is called as complete unaware state of mind, means this is the state of that mind, eh, and I am not aware about this mind. And the most important thing about this mind is that I don't want to be aware. So he gave three structures: conscious, complete aware state of the mind, means I am right now, I am aware about my surrounding, what is the time, colors, what am I talking about. So this is my conscious mind. Subconscious means partially aware state of the mind. Right now I am not aware, but if I am going to put some pressure on my mind, I'll be able to recall that thing. Unconscious mind means complete unaware state of the mind. Sigmund Freud correlated this structure of mind with the iceberg model, just like an iceberg. What he said that, I'm just going to give you one smallest example so that you can understand better. Let's say that this is an iceberg, and in the water iceberg is there, and if you forget about this, if you are going to put uh, some ice cube in a glass of water, if you have ever observed that the most of the part of that ice is going to dip inside that water, the smallest part is outside the water. So according to Sigmund Freud, the part that is outside the water, that is called as the conscious mind. And if I am going to put some pressure over this ice cube, then this part will goes inside and then again it will come outside. So that means the part that is like touching the layer, this part is called as subconscious mind, means if I am going to put some pressure on my mind, I'll be able to recall some of the information that has not lost completely, and the remaining part is called as the unconscious mind. So that is why in your exams, if your question come like iceberg model, don't get confused, you can just explain these three structure of the mind. So this is all about Sigmund Freud theory. I hope the concept is clear to all of you, and in the next we are going to talk about Erickson's theory. So this is all. If you'll have any doubt, you can just ask from me in the comment box. Till then, take care. Bye bye.